Ray Dalio did not emerge from inherited certainty or academic ornament. His philosophy was forged early through error, humiliation, and the relentless feedback of reality. As a young man on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, he learned his first durable lesson. Markets do not reward intelligence, conviction, or confidence. They reward accuracy. And accuracy is not a personality trait. It is a system. Dalio's career can be read as a long rebellion against the ego. Early success in the 1970s convinced him he understood the world. Then, in 1982, he made a bold and public prediction that the global economy was headed for depression. He was wrong. Catastrophically wrong. The economy boomed. Dalio lost nearly everything, fired employees, borrowed money from his father, and faced the quiet, grinding humiliation that only markets can impose. That failure became the cornerstone of his worldview. Pain plus reflection equals progress. From that moment forward, Dalio stopped asking whether he was smart and started asking whether his thinking was correct. He began to document his mistakes with forensic precision, not to punish himself, but to extract principles that could survive him. Over time, this discipline hardened into a method, reduce reality into cause and effect relationships, stress test them relentlessly, and encode what works into rules. Where others relied on instinct, Dalio built machines of thought. At the center of his philosophy is the belief that reality operates according to laws, economic, psychological, biological, and that success comes from aligning with them rather than fighting them. He rejects moral narratives in markets. There are no villains or heroes, only forces interacting. Debt cycles expand and contract. Incentives drive behavior. People mistake opinions for facts and then suffer when the distinction is enforced by price. One of Dalio's most radical ideas is radical truth. He observed that most organizations fail not because of lack of talent, but because they lie to others and to themselves. People protect their egos, their status, their comfort. This creates blind spots, and blind spots compound. Dalio's solution was brutal transparency. Ideas must compete openly, independent of hierarchy. The best idea wins, not the most senior voice. To operationalize this, he separated credibility from authority. Not all opinions are equal. Some people have earned the right to be weighted more heavily in specific domains. Track records matter. Decision-making, in his view, should resemble an algorithm that assigns probabilities based on demonstrated competence. This removes emotion from judgment and replaces politics with evidence. Another core insight is the distinction between goals, problems, and designs. Most people treat problems as failures. Dalio treats them as signals. Problems are inevitable when pursuing ambitious goals. They are not obstacles to progress, they are the path. The mistake is to react emotionally rather than diagnostically. Every problem contains a lesson. Extract it, design around it, and move on stronger. He emphasizes the importance of knowing one's own nature. People fail not because they are bad, but because they try to be what they are not. Dalio advocates for radical self-knowledge. Understand your strengths, accept your weaknesses, and build systems that compensate. Do not wish to be fearless if you are cautious. Instead, create decision rules that neutralize fear. Success is not self-transformation, it is self-alignment. In investing, Dalio is best known for his understanding of macroeconomic cycles. He frames history as a recurring pattern of short-term debt cycles, long-term debt cycles, and shifts in world order. Empires rise when productivity, innovation, and sound money align. They decline when debt, inequality, and internal conflict overwhelm them. These cycles are not predictions, they are templates. The future is not known, but its shape is familiar. From this perspective, diversification becomes a moral imperative. The greatest risk, Dalio argues, is believing you know what will happen. Markets punish certainty. The antidote is balance, across asset classes, geographies, and economic environments. His concept of risk parity is built on this humility. Spread exposure so that no single outcome can destroy you. Survival precedes victory. Emotion, in Dalio's framework, is the enemy of good decisions. Fear and greed distort perception, shorten time horizons, and magnify noise. The solution is pre-commitment. Decide how you will act before emotion arrives. Encode those decisions into rules. Let systems act when you cannot be trusted to think clearly. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Perhaps his most enduring lesson is that progress is iterative. There is no arrival point. Life is a looping process. Set goals, encounter problems, diagnose, design, execute, repeat. Those who accept this loop thrive. Those who resist it suffer. Happiness, in Dalio's view, does not come from avoiding pain, but from knowing how to use it. Ray Dalio's legacy is not merely financial, it is epistemological. He offers a way of seeing the world that replaces narrative with structure, ego with evidence, and hope with preparation. His work insists on a hard truth. Reality does not care about your intentions. But if you are willing to observe it honestly, learn relentlessly, and design intelligently, it will reward you with something far more valuable than certainty, durable success. Like and subscribe for more financial wisdom from history's greatest traders and investors. Distilled. Ray Dalio extends his framework beyond markets into a comprehensive operating system for life. Where most thinkers stop at advice, he insists on execution. Insight without implementation is indulgence. Principles to him are not inspirational aphorisms. They are decision rules written to function under pressure, fatigue, and uncertainty. A defining theme in his work is believability-weighted decision-making. Dalio observed that groups routinely fail because they confuse consensus with correctness. The loudest voice, the most charismatic speaker, or the highest-ranking individual dominates outcomes. This, he argues, is a structural error. Decisions should be shaped by those who have repeatedly demonstrated accuracy in similar situations. Credibility is domain-specific and earned through results, not titles. This leads to an uncomfortable implication. You must be willing to subordinate your opinion when evidence shows someone else is more likely to be right. For many, this feels like self-erasure. Dalio reframes it as liberation. By outsourcing judgment to probability rather than pride, you gain access to better outcomes without needing to be omniscient. The goal is not to be right, it is to be correct. Central to this is the concept of thoughtful disagreement. Dalio does not advocate harmony, he advocates productive tension. The clash of well-formed ideas exposes weaknesses that agreement conceals. But disagreement must be structured. Emotional reactivity poisons truth-seeking. Participants must be committed to discovering what is true, not who is superior. When debate is aimed at learning rather than winning, friction becomes fuel. Dalio also places extraordinary emphasis on documentation. Memory lies. Narratives drift. Systems degrade when lessons are not captured. By writing principles down, you create a reference point immune to mood and hindsight bias. Over time, these principles compound into a personal constitution. When faced with uncertainty, you are not improvising. You are consulting an evolved version of yourself. Failure, in his worldview, is inevitable and necessary. What matters is the speed and quality of response. He distinguishes between bad outcomes and bad processes. A good process can produce a bad result due to randomness. A bad process may succeed temporarily by luck. Long-term success depends on identifying which is which and refining the process relentlessly. This mindset requires emotional resilience. Dalio acknowledges that looking at your mistakes honestly is painful. The ego resists exposure, yet he argues that pain avoided today returns as catastrophe tomorrow. Those who learn fastest are not the most gifted, but the most willing to stare at their own inadequacy without flinching. Radical humility is not self-loathing, it is strategic clarity. Another recurring insight is the separation of signal from noise. Markets, media, and social systems bombard individuals with information engineered to provoke reaction. Dalio advises slowing down, zooming out, and identifying the few variables that truly matter. Most events are second-order effects. Focus on the drivers, not the headlines. Time spent reacting is time stolen from thinking. In personal development, Dalio rejects vague self-improvement. He advocates specificity. Identify precise weaknesses. Are you bad at prioritization? Risk assessment, emotional regulation. Then design explicit tools to compensate. Use checklists, use algorithms, use other people. The mature mind does not rely on raw willpower, it builds scaffolding. His approach to success is deeply probabilistic. There are no guarantees, only odds. By improving decision quality, you tilt probability in your favor. By diversifying and preparing for multiple outcomes, you reduce fragility. By accepting uncertainty as permanent, you stop wasting energy demanding certainty from an indifferent universe. Dalio's view of leadership follows the same logic. Leaders are not visionaries issuing commands. They are architects of environments. Their job is to design systems where good decisions emerge naturally and bad ones are surfaced early. Culture is not what people say. It is how decisions are made when no one is watching. This leads to a stark conclusion. Most suffering is self-inflicted through poor design. People place themselves in roles that amplify their weaknesses, build organizations that reward politics over truth, and pursue goals misaligned with their nature. Dalio's work is a sustained argument for redesign of careers, relationships, institutions, and inner lives. Underlying everything is a cold, liberating realism. The world does not adapt to your preferences. You adapt to it or you fail. Yet within this realism is optimism. The belief that with clear thinking, disciplined learning, and honest feedback, improvement is always possible. Progress is not reserved for the brilliant, it is available to the rigorous. In the end, Dalio offers no comfort myths. He offers tools. He replaces hope with preparation, confidence with calibration, and ambition with structure. His philosophy asks a single, relentless question: how does reality actually work? Those willing to ask it, and to accept the answers without distortion, gain an edge that compounds quietly over a lifetime. Ray Dalio ultimately arrives at a philosophy that is less about winning and more about not being fooled, by markets, by people, or by oneself. He views self-deception as the most expensive mistake a person can make because it compounds invisibly. You can recover from losses, rebuild careers, and repair relationships, but if your model of reality is wrong, every action you take will quietly drift off course. This is why Dalio places such emphasis on feedback loops. Reality is always speaking. Prices move. People react. Outcomes diverge from expectations. The disciplined individual listens carefully and adjusts. The undisciplined individual explains. Explanations soothe the ego but do nothing to correct trajectory. Dalio urges replacing stories with measurements, excuses with diagnostics. He draws a sharp line between explanation and understanding. Explanation assigns blame or comfort after the fact. Understanding identifies causal mechanisms that can be changed. When something goes wrong, the critical question is not who failed, but what system allowed this to happen. This reframing dissolves shame and redirects energy toward improvement. Dalio's obsession with cause and effect thinking is not abstract. He believes that most people live downstream of forces they do not understand, economic incentives, psychological biases, social pressures, and then feel surprised when outcomes repeat. Freedom, in his view, comes from moving upstream. Learn what drives behavior, and you can predict it. Change incentives, and behavior follows. One of his more unsettling insights is that sincerity is not reliability. People can be honest and still wrong. They can be well-intentioned and still destructive. Trust, therefore, must be conditional on demonstrated accuracy, not character alone. This is uncomfortable in personal relationships and explosive in organizations, but Dalio insists it is necessary for high performance. From this emerges his belief that pain is information. Emotional discomfort signals misalignment between expectation and reality, between self-image and feedback. Most people anesthetize this signal through denial, distraction, or blame. Dalio advocates the opposite. Lean into pain intellectually. Ask what it is teaching. Pain ignored repeats. Pain examined evolves into competence. His framework also dismantles the myth of linear progress. Growth is jagged. Plateaus are normal. Regression is common. The expectation of smooth ascent creates frustration and abandonment at precisely the moments where persistence would pay off. Dalio normalizes struggle by embedding it into the process itself. Struggle is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of engagement with reality. This realism extends to happiness. Dalio does not promise contentment. He suggests that happiness emerges as a byproduct of meaningful struggle, not the absence of difficulty. Purpose is found in the pursuit of improvement, not in arrival. Those who chase comfort stagnate. Those who accept challenge remain alive. In economics, Dalio warns against extrapolation. What worked recently is often the most dangerous thing to assume will continue. Prosperity plants the seeds of fragility. Stability invites leverage. Success breeds complacency. This pattern recurs in individuals, companies, and nations. The moment something feels safest is often when vigilance should increase. His study of empires reinforces this. Dominance erodes not through sudden collapse but through gradual decay, rising debt, internal division, erosion of norms, and loss of adaptability. The lesson is not pessimism, but preparation. Decline can be navigated by those who recognize its signals early and adjust accordingly. Dalio's approach to uncertainty is particularly instructive. He does not attempt to eliminate it. He assumes it. Instead of forecasting a single future, he maps multiple plausible scenarios and prepares for each. This reduces surprise and increases resilience. Optionality becomes a strategic asset. In personal terms, this means cultivating skills that transfer across environments, learning how to learn, emotional regulation, probabilistic thinking. Titles, credentials, and status decay quickly. Adaptive capacity endures. Dalio measures intelligence less by knowledge than by the speed at which someone updates their beliefs when proven wrong. Another recurring theme is ownership. Dalio believes that agency begins the moment you stop blaming external factors for internal outcomes. Circumstances matter, but interpretation matters more. Two people can face identical conditions and diverge completely based on how they respond. Radical ownership is not about guilt. It is about leverage. If it's your fault, you can fix it. This attitude strips away victimhood. Complaints are reframed as signals of poor design. If something repeatedly frustrates you, the system around you or within you is flawed. Redesign it or exit it. Endurance without adaptation is not strength, it is waste. Dalio is also clear-eyed about mortality. He treats life as a finite allocation of time and attention. This awareness sharpens priorities. Trivial conflicts lose significance. Learning accelerates. Relationships are chosen deliberately. The question shifts from what do I want to what is worth wanting given the constraints. His philosophy leaves little room for sentimentality. Yet it is not cold. It is compassionate in a structural sense. By removing ego, it reduces unnecessary suffering. By emphasizing learning, it offers redemption through effort. By accepting impermanence, it frees individuals from clinging to illusions. In the end, Ray Dalio's distilled wisdom is a call to intellectual adulthood. Stop outsourcing thinking. Stop demanding comfort from reality. Observe what is, not what should be. Build systems that reflect truth rather than preference. Learn faster than the environment changes. And above all, remember that success is not about being extraordinary. It is about being consistently aligned with how the world actually works. Like and subscribe for more financial wisdom from history's greatest traders and investors. Distilled.